Okay, it is 5 past 5. Let's go through this question. Get your pieces of paper out and your pens and your pencils, and we're going to go through this step by step. All right. I'm just going to turn my camera off because I'm going to flip my screen around, but I'm here. Okay. So let's try. Now, the first thing we have to do is we have to see that I was trying to trick you. And I have this, I've got this bracket here that is being squared. And remember, when we have that squared bracket, what we say is we say, when in doubt, write it out. Okay, so we can see that we have, oh goodness, my pens are going all over the place today. So we can see that we have got this bracket that is being squared. So we are going to write it out 2 times. So I'm going to say 2x minus 3, and then I'm going to have 2x minus 1. And again, 2x minus 1. Okay, so if you got to this point and you recognized that you had to write that bracket out twice, or if you did it the quick way and you multiplied it out twice, and so you got 4x squared minus 4x plus 1, you can give yourself a mark. Okay, so that's for recognizing that it's being squared. So well done for anyone who did that. That's great. The next thing we have to do is we now have to multiply these 2 binomials together. And we do that in the way that we learned a couple of lessons ago, where we take the first term and we multiply it by the first term. We take our outer terms and we multiply them. We take our inner terms and we multiply them. And then we take our last terms and we multiply them. And we land up getting, let's write it all out. So we're going to have 2x minus 3 bracket. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times negative 1 is negative 2x. Negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. And negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. Okay. And I'm just going to simplify that quickly because those are like terms. And so I'm going to get 2x minus 3. 4x squared minus 4x plus 1. Now, if you got to this point, so if you were able to get inside that, if you were able to get that 4x squared minus 4x plus 1, I want to give yourself a mark. Okay. Let's have a look. Oh, I just seen a question about if you finished with tests. It's still a good idea to come because remember with maths, everything is just about practice. So the more you practice, the better you get at maths. And your brain is a muscle. So the more you train it, the stronger it will be. So my advice is, if you can come, always come to these lessons. Okay, our next step is we now need to take this negative 3 and we need to multiply it into that bracket over there. That's okay, Thomas. And so I'm going to land up getting 2x minus 12x squared plus 12x minus 3. Okay, and now I just look for my like terms. Some Pee-wee had this right at the beginning, a long time ago, around 5 o'clock, and we land up getting negative 12x squared plus 14x minus 3. Okay, I'm just going to show you where you can give yourself another mark. If you were able to get those 3 terms there, I want you to give yourself another mark. And if you landed up getting to the final answer, I want to give yourself a mark. So I'm just curious to know, this is quite a tough question, but I'm just curious who here got 0 out of 4, who got 1 out of 4, who got 2 out of 4, and who got 3 out of 4. Can you let me know how this question went? Okay. Oh, Alpha's. Okay, cool. Just keep them coming so I can get an idea of where we're at. Okay, so for those of you who weren't here, I said this sort of early in the lesson. I'm just going to say it again. In today's lesson, what we're going to do is basically we're going to take a couple of steps back of just the whole multiplication process of algebra. So we're going to start with something which is going to feel quite easy to some of you, and for some of you it may feel sort of just of a normal standard, and we're going to slowly build up till we get back to these hard ones, and then we're able to do these hard ones quite confidently by the end of the lesson. And like I said just now, any math practice is good practice. So get these questions, write them down, do them on your side, and we'll sort of move through this lesson. And then on our lesson on Thursday, we're going to start bringing in some of the things we did ages ago, like with our like terms and when we divided things and when our exponents changed. We're going to bring all of that in again on Thursday. So we're going to try and sum up our little algebra section. Yolanda, how can I help?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, I want to ask, how did you get that -3?
The -3 was just there. So that was part of my question. That was that -3 the whole time.
Oh, okay, ma'am, thanks.
No problem.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Ma'am, the third line, the third answer, right before the final answer, ma'am, 2x minus 3 bracket 4x exponent 2 minus 4x plus 1. Ma'am, I want to find out, it's a silly question, but I just want to find out, does the -3 times the +1 right at the end before the close brackets?
Yes, so that's how I land up getting this -3 over here, because that -3 is going to multiply to all three of those terms.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi, Tiana. How can I help?
Ma'am, I'm asking, is the class next week in the week after it? Because it's
Yes.
all.
Yeah. So the class next week is going to be, basically we're going to spend a lot of time going over all of the quizzes that you guys have done so far. So we're going to go through some of those quiz questions and see where you went wrong and try and fix some of the things. So it's going to be a lot of number work and the things like algebra, not algebra, real numbers and integers and rational numbers and all of that on the Tuesday. And then next week, Thursday, it will be sort of a revision of all of this stuff, all the quizzes you did with algebra. And then the week after next week, there's a holiday program. So it's not lessons like these lessons. You're going to do sort of more fun things and problem solving things.
Oh, okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Sure. Okay. All right, let's get going into today's lesson then. So geometry petition. Geometry will come, just not just yet. Kiara, after Thursday, we're going to kind of do like a retrack. So like what I've just said to Tiana now, I think you wrote that question before I answered, Tiana, but we're just going to kind of go over all of that number work and make sure everyone's fine with the number work and make sure everyone's fine with the algebra. And then next term, when we start our lessons, we're going to do cool things like some equation work. We're going to do some factorizing, all those cool things. Okay. The thing with equation work and factorizing is if your algebra is not good, then those are not possible. So we needed to make sure your algebra is solid. All right. So now this question is going to seem nice and easy to some people, and for some people it may not seem super easy. And what I want you to do is I want everyone to try it. I want you to all give it a go. See how you do with it. And then I'm going to go through this one quite slowly, and we're going to talk about the steps so that as we move through them, you can learn where you went wrong or where you went right. With the questions, we did do exponents. We did exponents earlier in this course when we looked at multiplication and division, but they will come back in the lesson on Thursday. So in 2 days' time, you'll see more exponents. Okay, so I want everyone to give this question a try, and then I'd love it if you could put your answers in the chat, and we're going to go through this step by step afterwards, and we're going to break down the steps so that we know what to do if we were to see this in a test. For those of you who are finding this a little bit easy, I'm just going to write another one for you on the right-hand side. Hmm. Okay. So if you're finding the one on the left quite nice and easy, then I'd love it if you could give the one on the right a try. If you're sort of struggling with the one on the left, then don't worry about the one on the right for the moment. I'm just going to give you a little bit more time, and then we're going to go through this. Okay, who can tell me what the first thing we want to do in a question like this is? What do we want to identify? Tando.
We want to multiply the -2 with the numbers in the brackets.
Okay, we absolutely do want to do that distribution. We definitely want to multiply that 2 in. But the first thing that we're wanting to do is we want to identify where our terms are. So we want to know which is what term. So like in this expression, if you guys are looking at it before I highlight anything, how many terms are there in this expression? In the one on the left, how many terms are there? Yeah, Ahikali, that's absolutely right. There are 2 terms happening here. So we've got 1 term over here, and then we've got 1 term over there. And now this process of identifying terms, it helps us because it helps us know what we need to multiply into what. Because sometimes it gets confusing and we're like, oh, should I multiply that into the second bracket? And if we identify our terms, we know what we're multiplying. Okay, so the first step, the first thing we want to do, and let me do it in blue because I highlighted in blue. Our first step over here is we want to identify the terms, okay? And if you highlight them, or if you put them in a different color, or even if you just put a block around them in pencils, it can help sort of see what the distinction of the terms is, and then it helps you as you move through the question. Okay, our second step in any question with algebra, once we've identified the terms, is that we are going to simplify each term. Okay, so in this one, we're going to do distribution. So we're going to take that 2 and we're going to multiply it into both of those brackets. And we're going to get 2x plus 2. And then we're going to take this 3 into this bracket and we're going to get negative 3x. And now a negative and a negative is a positive. So we're going to get positive 6. Okay. So that's our first step. Then, after we've done that, the third thing we're wanting to do is we want to simplify our whole expression. So we want to add or subtract like terms. Okay. And like terms have to have the same exponent and the same variables. So if we have a look at this, we've got 2x minus 3x, and we have got 2 and 6. Okay, so 2x minus 3x is going to be negative 1x, and 2 plus 6 is going to be positive 8. Okay. How are we feeling about this? Who ended up getting that beautifully right? Who made silly mistakes but now know where they went wrong? Tell me how this question went. Let me know. Give me a little spiel about how it went. Okay, great. 6 plus 1x. Oh, right sum. Okay. I know it was easy. I told you. But remember, if we can't do the easy ones, then we struggle with the hard ones. So we have to kind of backtrack sometimes to help us. Okay. Those of you who attempted the one on the right, if you didn't attempt the one on the right, please don't panic. But it's still good to listen. Now, the first thing, they went off track. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing we did in the first one, and we're going to identify our terms. And if we don't identify our terms, you're going to fall for the trap that I set for you. So I want to know, those of you who attempted the second one, who said 4 minus 2. So I want to know who did this. If you, oh goodness, guys, I'm just in highlighter mode and highlighting away. Okay, I want to know who did this. That's what I want to know. Who took this 4 minus the 2 and gave me a 2? We got one person. Did anyone else end up doing that? Yeah, no, you can absolutely have done both. 100% you can do both. Okay, so what I've written on the board, this is a mistake that often happens. Lots and lots of people do this, and teachers set questions specifically like this so that you will fall for this trap, because math teachers, we can be mean sometimes. We like to trap you, okay? But that is 100% a trap that we do not want you to fall for, okay? The thing that we're wanting you to do is we're wanting you to first identify the terms, which we've identified with those highlights, okay? And from there, we're going to simplify each term. Now, this 4 is a term by itself. There's nothing I can do to it. It's just going to be a 4. This term, I need to multiply my negative 2 in. So I'm going to get negative 2x plus 2. That's this term. My last term, I've got a negative and a negative, which is going to become a positive. So I'm going to get a positive 3x. And now I have simplified all of my like terms, all of my terms. Now I'm going to add or subtract my like terms. So I've got negative 2x and 3x. And let's see a different color. We've got 4 and 2. And so our final answer here is going to be 4 plus 2, which is 6, and negative 2 plus 3, which is positive 1x, or we can just say x. So we could say 6 plus x or x plus 6, but that is where we're going to be. Oh, Luniko, don't worry. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. So that is our answer for the second one. How did the second one go? Did we get it right? Did we get it wrong? Did we fall for the trap? How did question 2 go? Oh, it's okay. Fell for my trap. Good. I'm so glad you fell for my trap, because I want you to fall for my trap in these so that you don't fall for the trap in your tests at school. Good. Walk right into my little trap. Okay. Let's try another one. Okay. Think about what you have to do here. Think about those steps that we just spoke about. So think about these steps. Identify the terms. Sorry, that should have an S. Identify the terms. It's going to bug me if I don't write this S. Here we go. Simplify each term and then add or subtract like terms. Those are the 3 things you're going to think about. Okay, so you're going to think about identifying your terms, simplifying each term, adding and subtracting like terms. Let's see how this one goes. I'm going to write our steps here on the right-hand side. Oh my goodness. Your brain can't have a heart attack. You will be just fine. Just follow the 3 little steps and you can't go wrong. Identify terms, simplify each term, and then we're going to add or subtract like terms. That's our goal for today. Just focus on these 3 little rules. Identify your terms, simplify each term, add and subtract like terms. That's okay, Emily. Don't panic. It was it. happening today? Everyone's brains are just having a bad moment. I think it's because it's the end of term and everyone's brains are tired. Intando, how can I help? Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to do the whole thing because I want you guys to still work through this. I'm just going to ask my first question to you is how many terms does this expression have? How many terms does this expression have?
I think we have a question from Samulani.
I think that they're having an audio issue because they don't have a mic next to them. Could you maybe help with that?
Cool, I'm on to it.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a little bit of confusion here with the number of terms, but there are definitely 3 terms in this. So let's just talk about how we figure out our terms. So our terms here, we've got 1, 2, 3 terms. There are 3 terms in this expression. Okay, and we know that terms are broken up. So those of you who maybe weren't in this class with us a couple of weeks ago when we started, that's why this may seem a bit confusing. But hopefully those of you who've been here a while will know that we break up terms with pluses and minuses. And for example, that minus there isn't breaking anything up because it is part of a multiplication. So when we're talking about terms, terms get broken up with pluses and minuses, and they get bound together. So like super glue, they get bound together with times and divide. So in this situation, we've got 3 terms, 1, 2, 3. Now, if you're able to identify your terms, I'm really happy about that. And I will give you a mark just for being able to identify that we have 3 terms there. Okay. Next step is, so now we've got our 3 terms. Our next step is we need to simplify each term. So I want you to simplify this. This one, there's nothing I can simplify, so that's just going to stay negative 4x squared. And then I want you to simplify that. That's the next step that I want you to follow. So everyone give that step a try. Oh, Norma, I don't know why you're getting kicked out. I think there's somewhere with the settings where you can change the quality of the video that might help your internet a little bit. Okay. Okay, great. So this next step, Nakabonga, that's beautiful. Our next step over here is we have 3x times 2x. And this is when we think about those three little letters we spoke about ages ago. We haven't spoken about them in a long time, where we do signs, numbers, variables. Okay, so our signs, we've got 2 positives, which gives us a positive. Numbers, 3 times 2 is 6. And remember, it's a multiply because there's a bracket involved. So that's going to be a 6. And then our variables, x times x is x squared. So that is what this first term is going to simplify down to. So the 3 times 2 is going to give us a 6. And the x times x is going to give us the x squared. Okay. Then we're going to look at this guy over here. And we're going to follow that same logic. We're going to first look at signs. So a positive and a negative is a negative. Now we're going to look at numbers. 5 times 1 is 5. And now we look at our variables. X times x squared is x cubed. Okay, so we're kind of bringing in stuff that we've spoken about over the last couple of weeks into these questions. Now we're wanting to find our like terms. And I've got x squared and x squared. So we're going to do our like terms there. So 6x squared minus 4x squared is going to give us 2x squared minus 5x cubed. And that is going to be our final answer. If the 4x was in brackets, so it would make a difference if this was like that, because then it would become 16x squared. Okay, SNV stands for signs. So the S stands for signs, the N stands for numbers, the V stands for variables. And we always, so when we're timesing or dividing, we use these 3 letters. So signs, numbers, variables. It's just like a way for us to remember what we need to think about when we are multiplying or dividing. Okay. So this question kind of brought together quite a few things that we've spoken about over the last few weeks. Do you feel a little bit better about it now that we've gone over it? Has refreshed some people's brains now that you've seen what to do? Does it feel a little bit less scary? I'm so glad you got it right. That's lovely. Okay, great. Okay, let's try another one. See how this one goes. Think about your steps, identify your terms, simplify each term. Let's write it out. Identify terms. Simplify each term. And then add or subtract like terms. Okay. Identify terms, simplify each term, add or subtract like terms. The last X is one of my traps. I'm just going to let you know it's a trap and hopefully you don't fall for it. That's what I will say. Brackets mean, think about what brackets mean. I'm glad that the X didn't throw you off and that it only almost threw you off. But it should at least warn you that it's a trap. So you may still walk into the trap, but you should know that the trap exists, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, I'm going to give you guys 1 more minute on this. And then I think we should do our brain break puzzle. I think I found one. It's a little bit different for you today. Mr. Shong, would you mind helping Margaret? She's having issues with the screen.
Yes, I'm on it.
Thank you. Okay, let's go through this step by step. So, first step, identify the terms. 1 term, 2 terms. Okay, 2 terms, 1, 2. Next step, we're wanting to simplify each term. So for this first term, I have to multiply this negative 2x into everything. So it's going to be negative 2x times x. So negative times a positive is a negative. 2 times 1 is 2. X times x is x squared. Negative 2 times positive 4 is negative 8. And we're going to have an x. So that's what the first one is going to become. Now my second one, all that's happening here is I'm multiplying everything together. So this is the same as saying negative x times negative 4 times x. So I've got a negative times a negative, which is going to become a positive. My numbers are 1 times 4 times 1, which is 4. And then I've got 2 x's, which is x squared. Now, if you didn't feel comfortable to do that all in one step, you could have also just said that that's positive 4x and then had an x next to it in brackets. And then we'll do the next step in the second step. That's also fine. Okay, so now my next step, this term is not fully simplified yet. So I'm going to say negative 2x squared minus 8x plus 4x squared. So now I've identified my terms. I've simplified each term. Now I can add or subtract my like terms. I've got this 2x squared over here. And I've got that 4x squared over there. So I'm going to get 2x squared minus 8x. And that's going to be my final answer. Okay. Cool. Who landed up getting this one right? Or at least some of it. Like parts of it. Almost. I love it. Oh, well done, Asongyu. Woo, Alvarez. Nice. Keon, well done. Ah, the X. The X, yeah. Tando, do you have a question?
No, ma'am, I figured it out. I was going to ask something, but I figured it out.
Okay, cool. Nokubonga, how can I help?
I have a question. Does the x still means that it's just going to multiply the 4, the negative 4?
Exactly, it's just going to be multiplied in.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the 4x squared is over here, I had minus 2x squared plus 4x squared. And so the minus 2 and the 4 just gave me my answer of 2x squared. Well done, guys.
I have a question.
Sure.
The first expression answer, negative 2x exponent to minus 8x. How did you get the exponent to? I just want to figure that out.
So we got the exponent 2 because we said over here we've got negative 2x and then we're multiplying that x by another x. And so when we multiply those two x's together, we get x squared.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay, let's go for a brain break. I want to know what my answer to this is. It is not 3. It's not 2. It's not 8. It's not 6. Not 16, not 24. Not 18.
Oh.
This is a nice one.
9, no. 8, no. Oh, hold on. I think I just saw the answer and then it disappeared. Who had it there? Bonolo got it. So it is 100% 56. It is definitely 56. Thomas, you were the one who wanted a hard one. Bonolo, do you want to tell everyone how you got your answer? If you don't feel comfortable talking, you can also type out how you did it. But you can just give them a hint. The answer is definitely 56. So anyone who got the answer 56, if you want to give a hint in the chat as to how you got 56 and help the others out, that would be great. There's one little word, which is quite a nice little hint. All these hows. My hint to you is lashes. Yeah. It's just lashes, guys. So it's 3 plus 3 plus 3. The eye color didn't matter at all. And then, yeah, it was 6 times 3, which is 18, minus 6, which was 12. So this was 8 plus 8 times 6, which is 56. I was so glad I finally caught some of you out. It's taken me like 9 weeks to get here. Okay. All right. I hope your brains feel sufficiently rested and we can move back into algebra land. That's my hope. I know once you know, it feels so obvious. But you should take I'll take away the answers and you could take a screenshot and show your parents or show your friends, see if they can get it. Okay, cool. Let's move back into algebra. I think we can do a good couple more questions and then we're going to call it quits for the evening. So let's try bringing in some, oh, wait, hold on, let's try. Yeah, let's try this one first. Okay, so we've got a binomial happening situation over here. So I want you to think of the very first question. I'm actually going to scroll up to it. So I want you to think about this one where we had this bracket was being squared. I want you to think about what we did with that bracket. So I want you to think very carefully about that and what we did first before we brought in that -3. So keep that in your mind. And while keeping that in your mind, I want you to give this question a try. Okay. Yeah, the only somewhat trap in this is if you do something in the wrong order. And if you forget about terms. If you forget about a middle term. I'm just going to tell you right now that if for this dude over here, if you've written x squared plus 1, you're incorrect. That is not right. Seeing traps is half of the battle of maths questions. Seeing them and then saying, I'm not going to fall into you. I'll walk right past you, Mr. Trap. Okay, I'm not going to do the full thing. Just for those of you who are struggling, I'm just going to write our next step out. All I've done, for those of you who are feeling a little bit lost, all I've done is I've taken this binomial that was being squared and I have written it out twice. That's the only thing I've done so far. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to do that multiplication of those binomials. Oh, worries. Wake it up. Okay, I'm going to give you guys 1 more minute on this guy. Done with a question mark. I love it. Okay, cool. So first step is what I've written on the board. Second step is we want to multiply those binomials. So inside this lovely orange bracket, I'm going to have x times x, which is x squared, x times 1, which is 1x, 1 times x, which is 1x, 1 times 1, which is 1. Okay, so that's my next step, is I want to multiply those two binomials with each other. So if you got that right, that's awesome. Well done. Now inside this bracket, I have got like terms, so I'm going to add them together. So I'm going to have negative 3x, and then in brackets, x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay, so what we did here was we multiplied our binomials, and then we added like terms, and that's how we got to where we are now. Now we are going to distribute this negative 3 into all 3 terms in that bracket. So now we are going to distribute, and distribute is just a fancy word for multiply in. So negative 3x times x squared is going to give us negative 3x cubed. Negative 3x times 2x is going to give us negative 6x squared. Negative 3x times 1 is going to give us negative 3x. And that is our final answer. Who made it some of the way? Who made it most of the way? Who made it all of the way? Okay. Cool. Okay, so try and keep in mind what we've done in this question, and then try and use it as we work through the last question of the evening. The last question of the evening, you're going to have to think about all of the things all together. So this one, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to think about what your terms are. And then I want you to think, what special thing do we have to do with that? So just this is your last question. So I want you to just focus on trying this last question. And I would recommend you rewrite it as another line to deal with this. What works for you. And then identify your like terms, simplify each term, add or subtract like terms. And this is your last one of the evening. So do your best. Let's see how it can go. Try and combine everything we've spoken about in this lesson. Okay, don't panic. I'm not rushing you. I'm just going to do the first step over here. First step over here is we're going to write the a plus 5, a minus 5, minus 2, 2a minus 3, 2a minus 3. That's going to be our first step. second step is we want to. No, I was trying to give you time to think. I didn't want you to feel rushed. Second step, we want to identify our terms. So if you've gotten to this point, you've already made me happy twice because you wrote this out beautifully and you identified your terms. So even if you got to just this point, I'm really happy already. Okay. Milma, how can I help?
Ma'am, I just wanted to ask, with bracket 2a minus 3, 2a minus 3, do they cancel each other out or do we just multiply them?
Yeah, they definitely don't cancel each other out. You're gonna multiply them together.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so from here, we're gonna start doing our multiplication process. So a times a is a squared. A times 5, negative 5 is negative 5a. 5 times a is positive 5a, and 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. Okay, so the squared goes away because I've written it out twice. So think about what, for something to be squared, like if I had 2 squared, that means 2 times 2. So all I've done is I've just taken away the square and I've written out my bracket twice. Now I'm going to write my minus 2, and inside this bracket, I now have 4a squared minus 6a plus 9. Okay, I'm going to start adding my like terms in both of the different areas. So those two I'm going to add together, those two I'm going to add together. So a squared minus 5a plus 5a, they cancel each other out, minus 25. Minus 2, and then inside this bracket, I've got 4a squared minus 12a plus 9. Now I need to distribute this negative 2 in. So if you've gotten this far, you're doing really, really, really well. Okay, a squared minus 25 minus 8a squared plus 24a minus 18. And then our last step is our like terms. So a squared and a squared, 25 and 18. And so our final answer here is negative 7a squared plus 24a. And then we've got negative 25 minus 18, which is going to give us negative 43. And that's going to be our final answer. Yeah. And a very, very big well done to anyone who even got close to that. This was a very hard sum. Okay, on that lovely, fun algebra note, I am leaving you in the capable hands of Mr. Shongwe. He's going to do a quick poll with you, and I'm going to see 100 out of 100. Nice job, guys. I'm going to see you all on Thursday, where we're going to continue sort of wrapping up our algebra section of this term. So well done to everyone. Have a lovely evening, especially Tando for your birthday, and I will see you guys on Thursday. Mr. Shongwe, they're all yours.